Listen, yesterday, a great day, really. I was just talking to Derek. A nice mix of insights. Particularly, I like getting some overseas insights and case studies. Sometimes at conferences, you get too many case studies, you know, and it's like, ugh, not another one.
The contact centre industry is constantly changing, updating and reinventing itself. And I think you will agree the only constant in our industry is change. And I think that's why it's important that we all get together and we swap ideas and find out what's going on. So my message to you is go back to your states, get involved with your branches, get involved with events, get involved with the ATA, and let's push the industry where it needs to go, because lots of things are beginning to happen, so let's keep the momentum going. So I task you all with going back and getting more involved when you go back home.
Hey, good morning, everyone. So as Antoine introduced, we've been on a knowledge journey over the past few years, and we've now landed with support point that we're running through the contact centres.
Because we now see, if somebody has a compliance breach, we can see if they went to support point to get the information. If they didn't, then you're really busted. And that's why compliance likes it, because now there's a trail.
But a lot of the information they should have access to should be exactly the same, like the rates in a bank. You know, why would you put that in two places? If you could link to the same place the customers see.
I'd like you all to take a very close look at this image behind me. Now what you can see here is actually the most important 50 centimeters square of the Indonesian internet. There's two things you need to know about the internet in Indonesia. The first thing is, before anyone can look at anything on the web in that country, all of the data has to first pass through this tiny, disorganized, chaotic room in Jakarta. The second thing you need to know is that there's a man in charge of that room. And you know, when I was discussing this with one of my clients in the retail space, a light bulb went off in his head. He said, Mike, I think I realize now that what I've been doing in the past, which is using my website to bring people in store, is actually the wrong thing. I should be thinking about the opposite. In fact, I shouldn't be thinking about sales per square meter. I should be thinking about data per square meter. Because if someone comes into my shop and I'm not finding ways to engage with them and get more information that I can use later, no matter what the channel, that's a missed opportunity. It's hard to see the signals that are really meaningful now in all this noise of continuous change. I actually think it's only in the moment when you can find a way to strip all of that confusion away that you get a glimpse for the first time of what the future might actually look like. It lets you reinvent the idea of what retail means. This is a store by Tesco in Korea. They didn't have enough space to build supermarkets, so they built them in subways. What happens is that when people come off the train and they're in a hurry on their way home, they can instead of going to the supermarket, they stand in front of these screens, take pictures of the goods that they want. The price of the goods come off their phone bill. They then get dispatched from the warehouse and sent to their homes. Okay? This is what's possible. I asked you to consider 5 important questions today. So let me end with 5 quick answers. What you need to be thinking about is, number 1, the next generation coming through, the naturals. Secondly, the power of networks and stories and data. And finally, how those things come together in a ubiquitous mobile framework. Being in the contact industry, you're really at the coalface of where change is happening at a consumer level. So more than anyone, I think, in business, you see that we're at the beginnings of a new revolution. A revolution where you've got a new generation coming through who've never known a world without the web. They're a living challenge to all of us to rethink the way we do business. And that's exactly what I'd encourage you to do. To think big, to think new, but most importantly, to think quick. Because if there's one thing I can tell you with absolute certainty, it is this. The future is now.
Well, that was awesome.
And I recall Lynn saying she started, I think it was in primary school clearly, and obviously I started when I was in nappies. So I've been at this for quite some time. I still enjoy it very much. Then moving to what the business should start to look like. So I'm not going to go through this, you'll be pleased to know, but really starting to pull out the architecture of the new business model. What's the service design have to look like? What does the technology have to look like, etc., etc. So once we'd sort of got what we had in order, so get the backyard in order, then we can start thinking about where do we go to from here.
I was lucky enough 15 years ago to be a graduate with no preconceived ideas about what recruitment was all about. And I had a unique opportunity to work with the industry in the very nascent stages of its development to work out what's the unique profile of a person that can service someone really well and engage a customer over the phone. And there's such a big difference between someone who can do that in a face-to-face setting and someone who can do it without any of those visual cues, where it's about tone and pitch and making an emotional connection with a customer over the phone.
And for our business customers, we provided a tool where they could validate a BSB and account number combination. A lot of payroll companies call up and have a big long list of Westpac accounts. They go, is this valid? And one of our providers that did some call listening one day said they sat on a call for half an hour of this massive payroll company just reading out these BSB and account information.
I do that because I can. Do you want to come and join me? A couple of things to point out before I start. It's Friday afternoon. It's after lunch, it's before alcohol, and here we are. So, woohoo! Because this afternoon is very much now going to be about what you want to do with the changes that you have and the ideas that you have seen in the last couple of days. So there's a couple of things I need to understand about you before we start. Because there's some tools that I'm going to use throughout this 1 hour workshop. And I need to understand if you have some parts of you that are going to work well, especially after lunch. How can you shout as loud, and I really do mean as loud as you possibly can, yes, Suzanne! Yes, Suzanne! I was not expecting that! I want to see again, who has been inspired over the last couple of days? Good. Again, if you can choose a different hand, how many of you have got at least one idea that you'd like to do something different next week when you go back to work? Okay, you're in the right place. Good, just checking.